What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Tuesday Track Talk with your Three Stones Pit Crew. I am your tire changer, Cam,
I'm your Jack Man, Kellen.
And I'm your guest man, Cam.
and it's episode 63 of the Tuesday Track Talk. And we're coming off a huge weekend when it comes to racing, both for the dirt and the asphalt side of things. When it comes to late models, kind of couple of last ones for these guys to wrap up the year. So, we'll get into that, and then obviously the news from the week, and kind of look forward to what could possibly be ahead. But before we dive too deep into that, what's going on, fellas, since we last reconvened with each other?
Need a nap after the weekend.
I halfway contemplated taking a nap today, but the 3.5 hour drive took a very good chunk of my day out.
Yeah, I tired out, but
Not a whole lot. Big racing, big weekend of racing, big checks, and a lot of big topics to discuss coming
Yep,
off of that.
got that right. Obviously, me and Kellen had the stream yesterday, actually 2 days after the surprise one for Saturday and
for
the
sure.
planned one for Sunday.
Yep, yep, absolutely.
So
All
a lot
the
of
all the
fun.
live reactions. Yeah, no, that was good. It was
Always
fun.
enjoy getting to do those. So,
Yep,
um, want to jump into some racing here and talk about the Gateway Dirt Nationals?
absolutely.
Uh, First off, it's about it. There's as much shenanigans as there always has been. Never fails.
Yep.
And there was also a lot of carnage with some fences that got torn down this
Yeah,
weekend
I'm
as well.
kind of surprised at how many actually left the park. If I'm being honest,
Yep.
we had Christ. You had two or three alone on Saturday night leave the park. It's like Jesus, boys, careful. So
Really want to spend all winter in the shop.
yeah, no kidding. But that place continues to produce. They had 30,000 people there on Saturday night.
Yep. And obviously with the bigger payday as well for that race, brought in a ton of drivers. If I saw right on Saturday, there was 113 late models entered.
Yep. Yeah, it just they said it couldn't be done, but it's being done at a very successful rate. So I don't know. I'm glad we got it for at least another 2 years. I wouldn't be surprised if we get an extension on this deal after the 2 years.
I mean, and you speak to the event. I forget who asked. Saw some. I think it might have been Racing Jason on Twitter. Him and Nick Hoffman talking about, can we officially consider the Dome a crown jewel event? And Nick Hoffman says yes.
Yep.
So, um, again, when we're talking crown jewels, that brings out the best of the best. And outside of racing, which we'll get to, I'm sure at some point in this conversation, with a crown jewel, we are going to a new registration format for that crown jewel next year. So we'll see how that shakes out. So, going to be interesting.
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit on Saturday, before the races started, that it's kind of an application process in order to apply for the nationals is essentially what it is. You apply, you get filtered, or your resume gets reviewed, and then you are given the yes or no as far as, yeah, you can apply, or no, you can't. So it kind of acts like an invitational of a way.
Yeah, for sure. In the late model side of things, it's kind of been a first come, first serve. As soon as that registration opens, can you get your crap in before someone else to be able to get in? But um clearly now they're taking another step to enhance or protect the racing product that this event has put on.
Let's let's table this conversation before I start firing shots. Do you want to cover racing first, or do
Yeah,
you want
let's
to get?
talk about the race here quick because there's
Yeah.
going to be some storylines that come out of that as well.
Yep.
Uh, so you knew everybody was going to be in for a hell of a race when Shepard starts on the pole for this one.
That was a problem from the get-go.
Yep. Yep. But I mean, you had all your guys that you figured to be really good, minus Bobby Pierce starting up front there. I mean, you had Gundaker starting up there as well. Hoffman, who's running really good here. Thornton, who was running good in the modifieds. And then you had Bobby Pierce, who came from a hell of a ways back
Yep.
in order to put a threat on.
It's like 14th to 2nd, I believe he went.
Yep.
Yeah, that's tough to do at a place like that. Small, tight, and the race really isn't that long.
No. Talking a 40 lap race.
Yeah,
And laps click off quick.
yeah.
What is the official length of track?
I think
Please.
it's an 8th mile.
Jesus,
Let's see. I wonder if this is gonna tell me or not.
it's like a lap around the house.
Not even. I'm pretty sure it's an 8th mile.
Seating information. Nope. Nope. Yeah, at least I don't have it on
Oh,
my race pass.
1/5.
1/5.
It is the largest indoor dirt oval track.
Well, it's also one of the very few inside dirt oval tracks. So
You can call yourself the largest when you're one of the only.
yeah, between that, the Tulsa Expo, and there's one more, and I just can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah, but yep, 5th mile. So Pierce put on a show. Had he had not broke, I think that would have got very, very interesting.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. How did we feel about track condition this year? It was rough, but
Yeah,
I don't think it was as noticeably rough.
it wasn't out of the ordinary.
Yeah. I mean, we
I just
saw,
think it was very different seeing Thursday night slicked off and so smooth.
yeah,
You compare that to Thursday night. Well, yeah, it's going to be rough because
it's the
Thursday night
first
was just
races.
so slicked off and so smooth that you had to know that as they watered that track and went through a whole bunch of race cars, that it was going to roughen up at some point.
I mean, Sommers came in and said on Saturday morning's driver meeting that they had an overnight thunderstorm that really watered the track down.
Yep. Yep. It
So,
rained in the dome. So you knew you were going to be in for it.
yep.
I
So,
guess as I think about track conditions, I don't think it was anything out of the ordinary. Um, I think, as we've watched this event the last few years, come Saturday night, you expect to have a sore ass at the end of that race, the way you're bouncing through those corners. So, again, I don't think it was, out of the ordinary, but again, like you said, it's totally different the way the track changes. And to see, after, I don't know if you saw some of the pictures on, I don't know if I saw them on X or Facebook, but after they dropped the checkered, I mean, they started tearing that up, and I was actually mind boggled. It looked like 8 inches of dirt, and then it was concrete. Like it did not look like there was much dirt left at that point. And I'm like,
I think I saw that too. I'm going to see if I can find it.
we were watching the live stream. They
but
started tearing it up while the live stream was still going. They wasted
Yeah,
no.
they started it, and then I think they got the last little bit of the dirt taken out today.
Yep.
but I mean, yeah. Again, and then it's another interesting dynamic too, having the split features on Thursday and Friday, and then a Saturday show. So
Well, and the other thing about
Friday's a little bit rougher than a
yeah,
Thursday night guy. So they're I don't know. You could say they got a little bit of an up, but I think everybody could see the writing on the wall with the expectation of what the track was going to have on come Saturday night. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
well, the thing about it is no matter what you do with the moisture of the racetrack, it can only go so far. It can't
Correct.
dissipate like any other place. The dirt can only take so much before it's just saturated, because then it's going to run into the concrete. The
Yep.
moisture has nowhere to go. It's in that track, and it's in there whether you want it to be or not. It's just going to be in there, and it has nowhere to go. So I don't know. I wasn't out of the ordinary. I didn't think.
Yeah.
No.
Mike Spatola. Damn good run.
Yeah, he looked good all weekend. He put it up front, and he did what he had to do. And guys are making a resume for themselves to apply for next year.
Yep.
He'd be somebody that apply. You go, yeah, you're in.
I mean, I think it's one of those that damn near anybody in this top 20 here kind of gets an automatic bid in a way.
Yeah,
You made it last year? Yep, we'll bring you back.
yeah,
So, Davenport started up front, had an issue, um, ended up falling back to 13th to finish that race.
yeah.
But then yeah, Pierce just coming out of nowhere, and like you were saying, if he had not a broken coming out of 4, going into 3, coming out of 4,
Yeah,
could we have had a drag race coming to the line?
absolutely. Without a doubt. I still think Shepard was going to get the job done, but
Yep,
he was going to make it really, really interesting. That's for damn sure.
yep, absolutely. Um, so Pierce goes back to back, which for one is pretty impressive, and obviously one of the only 2 guys to ever do that, and you have Tyler Carpenter doing it the other way. Um, but something interesting that came out of that from Rocket Chassis. He won in a 22 Rocket, a 2022 Rocket chassis that
Yep,
had 1.2 updates done to that chassis.
yep. Which they've come out and said, we can do that to your rocket if you want us to. So they're proving that this 1.2 deal is going to be pretty tough coming next year.
And isn't going to break the bank for any guys to leave either. Guys can kind of rotate their chassis like, yep, I want you to work on this one first. So that one's done, drop off the other one.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm assuming Longhorn will be able to turn them around at a very quick rate. That it
Oh,
wouldn't
yeah.
be a huge deal that, hey, we're gonna drop one off, we're gonna go race this weekend. When we come back through, we're picking that back up. I wouldn't be surprised that they can turn them around at a pretty rapid pace.
Yep. And then the shock package to go with it, too.
Yep. Yeah.
Not to dive into this whole debate too, but I feel like the old pendulum might be swinging on the old chassis competition there
Oh,
come next year.
We said it when McCready started doing really good in that rocket car at the end of this year, really. And, with Shepard coming back and now the performance that they had at the Dome in these updates, yeah, I mean, 100%. I think Longhorn's worried.
Oh, yeah, they're
I'm not going that far yet. Their Rocket's going to be competitive.
Yep.
well, they're going to be competitive, but I would say they're definitely they got their nose to the grindstone right now because it's not going to be, hey, boys, sit back and just pump out chassis and we'll post the Victory Monday with 6 guys in victory lane. It's not that anymore. It's, hey, Rocket's onto something. Engineers quit sleeping and start developing something because
Well, yeah, it took them 2 seasons getting dog walked to get to that point, though.
yeah, true.
I mean,
Jesus. Uh, but I mean, that's something we should follow next year. Just the amount of wins per chassis, because like you said, Bishop is going to be a problem in that rocket. And
Lucas Oil tracks it. Lucas Oil tracks it. Lucas Oil tracks your chassis winner. They track your engine builder. They track everything. There's money and awards for that stuff. All you got to
perfect.
do
Well,
is
then
look at it.
we'll have to stick Van Grohl on track when the old Woo tour.
Yeah.
Giddy up.
So, yeah. Now, I am going to say, I think there's a little bit of an asterisk to the dome. I'm not going to jump too far in this rocket thing yet.
True.
Dome is very much a niche thing. Brandon Shepard is really damn good at the dome.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that XR 1.2 is not a great car. Don't get me wrong. A rocket is definitely figuring something out. I'm just going to say that the dome is a little bit of an anomaly.
Not
I'd say
necessarily
that
based on the chassis, it's based on the driver.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he did it in a Longhorn last year, and he's done it on Rocket this year. I mean, he's just good there. Let's not deny that either.
Yep.
So I was going to say too, again, I hate saying no disrespect because the next thing that comes out of your mouth is disrespectful. But I will say that the dome is the track is a little bit of an equalizer.
Yep.
No disrespect to Mike Spatola, but we go anywhere and he's scraping in the B main. So, but that's what makes this event great. You get somebody like that who makes a run at it, who isn't following a big time tour and gets in an event like this and can run with the best of them. So,
Yep.
yeah, maybe should pump the brakes a little bit on the rocket thing, but
No,
they're touting their stuff already.
they should. They have no reason to not do that, though.
Yeah. This little, yeah, you talked on it. They're not messing around touting it's a 2022 rocket with some updates, and yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yep.
And last point on this whole chassis thing too. Hopefully it doesn't break the bank, these upgrades, because again, we talk about the cost of racing and what it's going to cost. Hopefully, if you're in a rocket, that can be another draw to teams. Hey, we can get you we can take your 21 or your 22 chassis, we can upgrade it and you'll be competitive, as opposed to, hey, you got to buy a whole new chassis. So hopefully it makes it a little bit more cost effective on the teams and puts them in good equipment.
Yep.
For sure. Want to jump back to this 2025 format? Cam, I'm sure you had some points you wanted to bring up on this.
Yeah, the big brain's been kicking around how this is going to go. And I guess just the expectations and how this is going to work. So I guess you guys have probably read the rule book twice on how this is going to go. I guess lay it out there for everybody, and then I'll chime in because you guys probably can explain it better than I can.
Well, and the way that I read it was basically it's a two-step application process. You apply with the intent, you get the approval, and then you apply for the actual race. That's the gist of what I got.
Yeah, that's kind of my understanding is basically you apply to get into the show, they'll review it, and once you apply and they approve you, you can register.
Yep. And I think they're only doing 100.
Because like you got to
100?
remember the modifieds are invite only.
Yep.
So the modifieds are already at an invite only event where the late models used to be. As soon as that registration opened, you had to have your card information ready to go, and all you had to do was click register. It was just a mad scramble.
Yep. So now it gives guys a chance to apply with the chance of getting in.
Correct.
Now, with that, I'm sure this is going to be a work in progress too, but did they release any criteria?
No,
No.
not from what I saw and read, at least.
So I guess let's jump right in. What's your guys' criteria?
Race wins?
I say if you're a past dome winner, you automatic bid.
Sure.
Yeah.
Outside of that, nobody's safe.
See, this is where it gets hairy.
Buddy, write your best resume and cover letter for why you think you deserve to be in this race, and I'll review it and use my best judgment whether I think you should get a crack or not.
Okay. Mikey Marler says next year he wants to come to the dome. You approving him?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
How
Follows a tour.
many?
So this is going to be, here we go. This is where this is. You guys probably aren't going to like this. Probably going to dookie on the little guys a little bit. But I mean, it's hard for me to turn down somebody like a Mikey Marler who's never been there, but he's on a national tour. I know he can mix it up with the best of the best anywhere he goes on any given night. So if Mikey Markler is going to throw an application, yeah, you damn right I'm going to approve him.
Okay. Here's another question for you. You mentioned race wins. Van Grohl, this name probably rings a bell to you. Pat Dorr from Cedar Lake, who's
Yep.
won a couple hundred races in his career, applies to get in. How do you weigh that up? Not a national tour guy, but
Correct.
he's won a couple hundred races.
Correct.
He
Mike
applies.
Spatola. Yep.
So
So
are
that's
we
what I
talking
think.
are we talking a couple hundred 6-car features at Cedar Lake, or
No,
what kind of features we talking about when?
we're talking USA National Weekend, not super late models, but the weekly late models that run. There was 50 some cars there last year. You know what I mean? How? Yeah, I don't know.
It's going to be one like registrations obviously could open early, and it's going to be a process to get them selected. Sommers even said he's like, you guys are going to have to trust me as far as the guys I get picked.
Okay, all right.
And I think you look at the Nationals this year, you look at the heat races for how they ran this year, and all right, you started 11th in your heat race, you finished 11th in your heat race, you got lapped. In your last chance race, you started X position, you didn't gain any positions, you were lapped. Why should I have you come back?
And I'll double down on that point, I guess. Well, not double down, but I guess I understand that point.
But and I forget the guy's name, but and probably a good thing in this instance, but we've seen guys cherry pick races as well.
So
And
this is probably not a reasonable question to, I guess, ask you guys, because I know what your guys' answer is going to be either way. but as he's putting together this entry list and choosing who's going to be there, don't want to dookie on the little guy, but are people going to pay to see Pat Dorr and Mike Spatola in the Dome, or are people going to pay and travel to see Jonathan Davenport and Ricky Thornton Jr.?
Why? Okay, so why
Well-
wouldn't Jonathan Davenport and RTJ be in it?
Yeah. You took the low hanging fruit, buddy.
Why wouldn't they be in it?
Right. Let's hold on. Okay. So here's another. I'll put devil's advocate. Somebody like Kyle Bronson hasn't been there in a couple of years. He wants to come. Maybe has never even been there for all I know. Kyle Bronson. Okay.
Does he get? Are you asking me? Are you asking me if he gets an application? If he gets in?
Okay, so Garrett
Through he's
Albertson.
in. 2 yeses. Here's what I guess when you say those names, here's what I think, and not that national tours everything. And I guess I talk about the Dome being a little bit of an equalizer, but again, those are 2 names where those guys can show up to any track on any given night, and it doesn't matter if it's a half mile, 3/8, quarter mile, doesn't matter, flat, bang, you name it. Those guys can show up and they can run up front.
Mars.
I'd say we're playing with 98 to 102.
Billy Moyer. Garrett Smith.
Garrett Albertson.
Jake Tim.
Dalton Wilson.
Chris Ferguson.
Troutman.
Carson Town. Troutman. Nick
McCready. I mean, I mentioned Albertson. He won 1 race on the Lucas Oil Series. He ran all the races on the Lucas Oil Series. He finished 6th in points, but had little less than half of the top 5s that RTJ had, and Devin Moran. So, like you were saying, we don't know what the qualifying factors are, but based on those stats,
Nope.
yes or no? Full-time guy, half the top 5s is RTJ, and only 1 win.
Are you asking me?
Sure.
Well, yeah, he's in.
Why?
Because Gary can run up front. Again, I just said it doesn't matter where you go. Gary can run up front.
It doesn't say that per the stats here. He had half of the top 5s that RTJ had. RTJ had 31. Albertson had 12. He ran in the top 5 for 12 races out of 46 races that he ran. Almost a quarter of the races that he ran, he was in the top 5.
Here's one for you. Here's another one
Pat
for you.
Dorr, pull up his stats outside of 106 late model feature wins at Cedar Lake. Does he get in? You're gonna let him? You're gonna let him ride around in the Dome?
All right, if you want to,
let him ride around 2 laps down in an 8-lap heat race? Come on, dude.
All right, so why should Gordy Gundaker be in it?
Yeah, what's Gordy done?
I would say Gordy likes riding around at Cedar Lake a lap down. I mean,
but he ran good at the Gateway Dare Nationals. So
now I do have to say, you talk about there's going to be a publicity element to this too.
Sure.
Somebody like let's be honest about it. Somebody like Hunt the Front, that's a guarantee. Social media presence, they've got the tour down there. Joseph Joyner puts in his application, he's in.
Sure.
Look, you can debate me back and forth on these guys, but I guess what I'm saying is if it's me, I'm looking at a body of work and I'm looking at ultimately this event's got to be profitable. And I'm going to look at the body of work, what this team's at and where they're going and what they do. And I'm going to look at the name and is this person going to help me make this event profitable?
The only caveat I throw into this is that, at least from the article that I'm reading, there was no mention as far as a max number of entries.
Okay. All right.
Just and between the two nights, we had 66 on one night and we had 65 on the other. So
120.
yep, 130. So you had 130 entries. So who's to say you just knock it down to 100?
Yup. I don't know. I'm genuinely curious as to how this is going to shake out.
Yep.
We're going to find out.
Next year.
Somebody's going to have to make a decision.
And
Dude,
gonna have to defend said decision.
Yep.
I would love to sit on that committee.
So, real quick here before we dive too deep into this, or move on, I should say. Your top 10 for the Dome. Brandon Shepard's your winner. Bobby Pierce was second, almost third. RTJ was third. Mike Spatola was fourth. Hoffman fifth. Gordy Gundaker sixth. Josh Rice seventh. Hudson O'Neill eighth. Kyle Hammer ninth, and Stevie Shepard was 10th, and Tyler Carpenter was 11th. Most notably, Stevie Shepard probably gave the interview of the weekend.
Yep. Absolutely did.
Dropped the old
F around and
Mess
find
around.
out.
Yeah,
Yep.
mess around and find out.
Yep.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I had to support the gear last week. His merch was, 50% off. And then he goes and puts out a performance like this. So still for
You
sale, but now
advertising?
now it's only 25% off. So the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets.
You're
But
doing the reverse Dutch auction, I see.
yep, the longer you reeled me right back in after this past weekend. So sick paint scheme.
Jesus.
Yep.
Who'd you guys give
So.
who'd you guys give the intro of the weekend to?
Oh god damn it, I'm trying to think of his name now. Winger.
Haircut?
Yep.
I got two. Winger for the haircut, Ryan Gustin with the memorial wrap, and Scott Bloomquist's daughter walking out with him. So one for being crazy, the other for the memorial or the tribute.
I can go for that.
I was gonna give you guys will love this one. I forget who even did it. The Reaper
Yep.
and the Bloomquist wrap. Meaning all that 10 out of 10. And then it's good to see old 45 and 47 make an appearance.
Ha. You just had to sneak one in, didn't you?
I mean, Jesus, who did that? I can't even remember who.
I can't remember.
Who didn't?
Probably Spatola.
Yeah.
Does
Also
Dude.
RTJ coming out to some T Swift.
Yeah, dude. Big Swifty, apparently.
Yeah.
do intros go into entries? Because if
Yep.
those do, whoever had that costume on that's a bid to next year.
Jesus Christ.
Okay. Any final thoughts here before we move on to the other big one of the weekend?
Nope. I'm ready for how this format is going to shake out for next year.
I didn't see in the article when entries start. I didn't see that. All it was just obviously the dates of the event.
Right. Well, it doesn't necessarily really even matter if it's going to go through an application process now.
Well, everybody's got to start at some point.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right, let's move on to the Snowball Derby here. And this is going to stem a whole nother conversation for the after part of it. Um, but obviously, the biggest short track race, asphalt wise, in the country on the year. Um, Qualifying lived up, I felt like, to the hype that it usually does.
Yep.
Um, you got to the race and you had your few favorites, but you had your few underdogs that you didn't think were going to be there. Um,
Yep.
Overall, though, some back markers or the guys that run in the back kind of just couldn't get along with each other.
No, we had that kind of group of 6, 8 cars in the back that they just like to waddle a couple up there had a couple single car incidents early in the race with Nick Loden and who was the other one?
There's a
Oh,
Lapsevich in there.
Connor Jones was a single car
Jones.
spin.
Yep.
So just you had a couple of them single car spins, and then these guys on that third restart just couldn't get going. They wadded a bunch up on the front stretch.
Yep.
Connor Jones, John Bolin, there's a Lapsevich in there, Nick Noggle.
Noggle.
I mean,
Quapfel, Caden.
yep. Noggle was in for a tough day with that rocket ship that he had.
Rocket ship was right. That thing was about ready to take off.
There was something not right in the front end of that race car, unfortunately. But yeah, he kind of wadded a bunch up there, and then it kind of finally settled out a little bit.
Yep. Guys were able to get long green flag runs in. Um, the
Yep.
occasional spin of a car or stopped car, but attrition really took its course after that. Guys falling out.
Yeah. Derek Thorne having motor problems. Uh,
Uh, Gilland, Okresic,
yep.
uh,
Cole Butcher.
Van Meter. Butcher had the unknown, or he had the flat tire that put himself 2 laps down.
Yep. The other Lapsevich blew up
Yep.
1 and 2. So
Hell
it's
of a
just
way to save that car, too.
holy Christ, that thing. I thought for sure that thing was junked.
That thing was looking to rear end into that wall.
Yeah. He was looking to back into the fence hard. And after that, it came down to strategy and adjustments.
Yep.
We kind of talked about this a little bit yesterday. Is you know when you talk about the race, there really was no thrill of a big late race wreck. It was that caution with 24-28 to go
Yep.
when Gregson got spun, but it just came down to just strategy and adjustment.
Yep.
Getting a good set of tires and being able to make an adjustment for an 18 lap run is what it came down to.
Yep. I think the theme of it was that other than the few incidents in the beginning, it felt like a very calm race.
Yep. Calm strategy wise. There's a few long runs, there's a couple little short runs, but when we talk about letting the strategy run play out, Jace Hansen
Oh,
with Preston Pelletier calling the shots. The way they adjusted on saving that set of tires to put tires on when everyone else was on old tires,
yep.
that track position set him up for that 18 lap run.
Yep.
You
It
couldn't
made
have asked.
his nothing day into something.
He turned it into a huge something, led laps. I mean, he drove through the field there, and then you come in with that last caution. You put tires on, and everyone's on an even playing field. You're now plus 20 on the track position.
Yep.
So, yeah, I don't know. Good on them. That was good to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Majeski though, just dominating the race. I mean, he had obviously starting up front helps, but being able to just lead laps and pull away from guys was just something to see.
Dude led 193 laps. At one point, he had lapped up to the teens.
Yep. Yeah, just picking them up and putting them down. But Caden Honeycutt just kind of hung around, minding his own.
He kind of
You know,
kept him right in that arm's length.
Yep.
Wouldn't let him run, but he kind of hung back a little bit. Maybe he didn't have the long run car that Majeski did. Obviously, he was better on the short run, but that long run, Majeski just took him a little bit to get going. Once he was going, he was gone.
Yep.
So he just did enough to stay around to keep his track position.
Yep. Got that right.
what do you guys think about this mistake? When his time's done, Majeski going down as the greatest short track super late model racer there ever was.
That ever what? Ooh. I mean, you're talking a lot of good guys. I mean, Trickle's one of them to throw out there.
Yep.
You got
The guy
Jim.
that's trying. Yeah, the guy that's trying to run 2 more seasons yet.
Yeah. You got Jim Sauter, Bickle. I mean, I know I'm just naming Wisconsin guys. But Gary Ballou.
Yep.
I mean, you got a lot of late model guys that.
Now, I will say, if he continues on the trend he is on currently, yes.
Dude,
Yep.
he's on a heater every
At
year.
this exact moment, I don't know.
I will give
no,
him
that's-
generational wise of our generation. I think absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, true. Good way to put it.
Yep. He's a guy that you could take the 91 anywhere in the country, on any track, at any place, and you can pretty much count on him to be in the top 5.
As I always put it, and this is where we break our PG rating here. He shows up and the rest of the guys go, ah, shit, this guy's here.
Yep.
Or you see the entry list come out and you see his name on there.
Yep. Talk about track position. How about Stephen Assey late?
What track position? I mean,
He had none until it was too late.
he almost didn't have any.
Yeah.
Almost going a lap down in that really first long green flag run. And then he was just able to kind of pick his way through like he did in the Snowflake.
Yep.
And get himself up into the front.
Dude literally passed 60 cars on the weekend.
Yep.
24-1 in the Snowflake and 30-2 in the Derby. Like,
I mean, it's just a matter of time. Obviously, he has crossed the finish line first in it at one point in time.
yep.
Got taken away at detection, but he has come across first in this race at one point in time. So he knows how to do it.
Hey, let's be honest. That Campy crew ain't gonna let that go down.
Oh,
They will have
he
that
thought they were
car.
out for blood last year. After last year.
They will have that car buttoned up. They will also put together a really good race car for him.
The other thing I think about too, and I think this happened last year, is that his qualifying effort was not great. And that hurt him in the beginning as well.
Yeah, he was trying to keep himself from going a damn lap down.
Well, not just this year, but I think last year too.
Yeah, correct. That's
So
kind of been his Achilles heel the last couple of years.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, honestly, everyone wants fireworks of a late race caution and this. Did we kind of get it? Yeah, we did, but we knew there was a comp caution coming anyways.
Yep.
So we knew there was going to be a late race restart for guys to make adjustments to go on a short run. That was just the nature of it. But we didn't wreck a whole bunch of cars late. It just gave guys a chance to work on it and go, all right, we got 20 laps. What are we going to do?
Yep.
So.
And Majeski said too, he's like, we should know better as far as we've seen this race come down to the last handful of laps. And you got to have a good short run setup car in order to finish it off.
What does everyone practice though?
But that long run car gets you
there
to that track position. So
Yeah. You toe a fine line.
yep. But when you barely adjusted on the car the all day too,
Yeah, they didn't hardly touch that thing except for changing air pressures at one point.
yep. So
That's how dialed in they are.
yeah. Nasty had definitely had the car. Between the caution and the restart where he kind of had to fight his way into position, that kind of hurt him to make a run there at the end.
Yeah. He needed to get by Hansen before the caution.
Correct.
That would have put him in the front 2 rows. That's what he would have needed. Starting in row 3 is what killed him.
Yep. And then Caden Honeycutt. Talk about a guy that nobody kind of thought about at the beginning of the weekend, but everybody's talking about now.
Yep. Absolutely.
It's absolutely insane. And Matt Weaver put out a post about a day ago, 22 hours ago, that Caden first drove the car that he won with 2 years ago at the Snowball Derby practice day while Corey Heim had NASCAR engagements. So he's been with that team before, and he's drove that car before at the Snowball Derby. And then the team decided to race with him in the summer, and here they are.
Yep.
Let's talk about kind of a full circle moment there.
Yep.
He's
For
kind of
sure.
a, big win for him, obviously, but he's another fun guy to follow too, because he does his fair share of, late model stuff. He'll get a couple truck starts. Early last year, he was mixing it up in a dirt late model down at Vado.
Cars,
So
Cars Tour Pro Late Model champ.
Yep, and he's got a full-time truck ride next year.
So, fun guy to follow along with.
Speak of
No,
dirt late model stuff. You know, interesting. You talk about it. Shane Clanton's down there, owner of Capital Race Cars, is down there bouncing around. Toby Noodleman runs into Jimmy Mars. They're taking a picture together while they're running around
Yep.
down there. Just the amount of big name people. I mean, Christ, you got other big YouTube channels. JH Diesel. I don't know if you guys follow him at all. He big automotive YouTube channel. He's down at the infield at the Five Flags for Snowball Derby. Like, pretty damn cool to see a lot of these big people there that don't have an investment in the racing itself, but they're there because they know what the event is.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool to see.
Oh, absolutely. So, before we dive deep into this other conversation, because I feel like we're gonna go down a really deep rabbit hole with it. Let's cover the
Yeah.
top 10 real quick.
get some real good conversation starters for you boys.
So, and we'll hit some notables as well. So, Caden Honeycutt, obviously, very impressive run. Wins the 57th running of the Snowball Derby. Stephen Assey second. Ty Majeski third. Jace Hansen fourth. William Swallow fifth. Gio Ruggiero sixth. Sammy Smith seventh. Chandler Smith eighth. Matt Craig ninth. Dawson 10th. A few notables. Fenhouse was 11th. Cole Raz was 13th. Pollard was 14th. Carson Quaffle 15th. Jake Fitch 17th, Brett Cruz 18th, Butcher was 20th, Thorne was 24th, Gillen was 26th. And that's about some of the notables.
Yeah.
So, well, first off, anything else on the Derby before we dive into this other one?
Love this. Loved it. Love that weekend collectively. Also, tip of the cap to Full Racing. Anytime there was a race car on track, you could watch.
Very good broadcast.
Yep.
Hell of a broadcast.
Job well done.
And I think the announcing crew, even with the guest appearance of Holsvar on the broadcast, I think was very good.
Yep.
Solid, just solid all around. So, all right. So let's dig into this rabbit hole here. So obviously there were some cars that were noted not to be there this year, or some drivers noted not to be there this year. Matt Weaver put out a very good article on the short track scene about this. So let's start with number of cars, because I think that's where this whole thing kind of stemmed from, was the car count.
Okay.
So looking at the past 6 years, including this year, 2019, 56 cars, 22 or 2020, 54, 21, 51, 22, 53, last year 50, this year 45. So, starting with that, obviously the car count went down, but you had the obviously to win go up, going from 35 to 50. Second place went from 20 to 25. Third went from 10 to 12.5. To start, gained an extra $500. It went from 2,000 to 2,500. So obviously car count's down.
Yep.
Um,
I hate to poke this bear. But I'm gonna ask you something, and it's a simple yes or no question.
okay.
It's been well noted around the country. Faith in the tires.
Well, first off, no. And I only say that because of the bracing product that we got, and especially the tire that was brought. The ST1 and the ST3s seem to be a little bit more reliable than the ST2s.
Okay.
So, but
Fair. That's now I'm gonna play devil's advocate to you. That's after seeing the product we got.
sure. The other thing I would and why I would say I could say yes based on not seeing the product is because it's just the cost. I mean, you're talking $1,000 a set. And you're
Well,
running, you had 4 sets. You had the 4 you had bolted on, you had 3 in pit road. So you're already at 4,000 just for tires.
you're gonna they estimated that if you were gonna run tires, you were gonna expecting to spend $6,000 on tires.
Yep. And that's 2 sets of practice tires to boot that you run. And to start was only 25. So, okay, so if we're looking at we're calling it $6,000 for tires. You had to finish 7th just to break even. And that's just for tires.
Correct. That's tires. That's not fuel. That's not pit passes. And that's not a car in the race. That's not
Hotels.
food. Like, yeah,
So, okay, so let's just say, well, how much more do we want to add to that? 3 grand?
sure.
So three
Make
grand
make
puts
make the math easy.
so 3 grand puts you at 9,000 in expenses. That's
Yeah.
fourth place.
Call it even 10.
Even 10, so you have to finish third just to get in positive out of this.
Because
You
I'm
have to
telling
finish
you,
on the podium to get a positive out of this.
some of the haulers that got there, they weren't running on hopes and dreams either.
Yep.
Well,
So,
actually, none of them were. Let's just
yep.
shoot that straight.
Yep. So to that point, is 50,000 great to run for? Absolutely. Love it. But and this conversation came up before, and I know it's been talked about with Hoffman before, and I only say that because he's the most notable one I think I saw it from. Do we need to spread the love to everybody? Does the pay need to be a little more reasonable throughout the field
Here's
to
my
make it more worth
question.
it?
We're having this conversation about the Derby. Flow Racing is the presenting sponsor of both the Derby and the Dome.
Or at
Is
least the
Yeah, well,
putting a part of the money into it as well.
okay, well, let's talk, I guess, just for Derby. We'll talk just for Derby's sake. The question becomes, if they don't put that money up front, then what do we have for car count?
Yeah.
Like if you know you're going down there with a $6,000 tire bill and you can't even finish lower than at that point on the podium to even break even,
Yep.
well, I understand it's a snowball derby. Let's not hide that fact.
Yep.
There's guys going down there that are going to come out way behind doing this, but it's a chance to win the snowball derby, which in turn can set off your career.
Yep. Now, a given, obviously, there's sponsors that come into this play as well, but I think the point still stands.
Yeah, to a degree. Yep, a big degree.
So I guess playing devil's advocate, you want to say, yeah, Flo's got to put that money out front to get, get these people registered. Why is that not to say if they say, yeah, we've increased the purse 15 grand this year and it's the winner's still taking home 35 grand, but the extra 15 is spread out. Wouldn't you get more car count knowing, hey, if I finish 25th, I'll break even, as opposed to racing?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would.
Because
It definitely
so
isn't going to hurt.
because I mean, notably, yeah, I don't know if it was a Snowball, but Midwest guy Johnny Sauter, um,
Just
and his
gone.
his brother and his brother
Jim
Jimmy,
Sauter.
yeah, great follow on X, and um,
Great follow on X were some very hot takes when it comes to the racing scene.
And or politics.
politics. So he, he tweeted
He
out,
didn't run the. He
John
was down there and ran the bigly, but didn't run the derby because he didn't have funding.
didn't have funding.
Yeah.
And um, you know, he he was one that put out, 6 grand tire bill just in tires. And
Yeah, and
then
then
another guy in a big late model scene there, Josh Berry, doubles down 6 grand in their junk. So,
yep,
Yeah.
it's a big shot in the gut right out of the gate.
yeah. And so I guess I don't know. If 6 grand in the tire bill, I think you're going to be more inclined to get somebody like that who's on the fence, who doesn't have, the funding, but they can say, hey, if we get down there, we'll pinch pennies to get there. Hey, we only got to finish 25th and, we'll break even. But I guess I don't know.
Okay, so I think part of the reason for the tire bill is you had 2 sets just for practice alone. We had
So
how many days of practice? We had 2 days of practice. We had an opera happy hour on Saturday, and then you had testing before that. Do you need to reduce the amount of practice?
2 points, and you guys can pick what side you want to fall on the fence. If I correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw Bubba Pollard's interview after the race, and he said, whatever late race missed an adjustment, which why he fell back to 14th.
Yep.
But correct me if I'm wrong, he made the comment that he's like, this is way too long. He's not doing this again.
Yep.
Just long, drawn out, so many days of practice, X, Y, and Z. He said this is too much. He's not doing it again.
Well, I'll tell you this. On top of, I don't know how you balance this. So obviously everyone goes down for the bigly,
Yep.
right? They're down there a weekend before. Guys want to take advantage of on track time, so you can test on Monday.
Okay.
You got a test day on Monday. I don't know if they can test on Tuesday or not. Rig parking Wednesday, rig and parking and tech on Wednesday. Thursday, they had between the Snowflake and the Snowball Derby, they had 6 hours of practice between those two divisions. My question is, and I swear to God, correct me if I'm wrong, but I swear to God, every time I clicked on Race Monitor to check on something, there was a private test going on at Five Flags.
Oh, before that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whoa.
because guys could rent it out for however many hours and
Can we limit that a little bit? Maybe I don't know.
well, okay, so the Midwest Tour, they have a rule where you cannot test at a track. I think it's 3 weeks prior to an event there.
Yep.
Okay. 2 weeks before the Snowball Derby, you cannot test. The only time you could have your car on track for this race is A, if you are in a weekly racing series,
Which the rules are different.
or B, practice for the
Approved.
event.
Approved. Correct.
Yep.
Now,
Pre-scheduled practice for this event.
okay, does that even the playing field a little bit? Maybe. But let's go back to the money conversation. Does it even change the conversation around the money? Guys that don't want to test aren't going to go test, and they're going to go show up on Thursday morning and try to give it a crack at it anyways, you know?
Sure.
Christ, we had Augie Girl hopping in a car in the last chance to try to get the car into the freaking feature.
Yeah. So, okay. So,
I guess one interjection here about, long drawn out this Saturday other thing. Did anybody see Carson Hocevar's response?
yes, he's got it actually in the article here.
Yeah, so he says, I hope it pays more, yes, but the amount of practice and long drawn out, overdone schedule is the draw for me. This feels exactly like the Daytona 500 used to. I hope nothing changes moving forward other than the check you get at the end of the event. Best event we have, in my opinion.
I mean, I also say too, you have really 3 hours of practice on Thursday because it's 1 hour sessions each going back and forth.
Yep.
You have, I didn't see
Friday.
how long. Friday you had what, another hour, hour and a half,
I
two?
think it's an hour.
You have another hour there qualifying, and then you have another hour happy hour practice afterwards. So essentially, one, you're making this like the old NASCAR practice schedule used to be.
Yep.
But I also feel like two, if you can't figure it out in those first 3 hours of practice, are you gonna get anything? Are you gonna go anywhere? How much practice is too much practice?
Well, I mean, you had guys.
I was going to say, we know
You
someone
had-
that could have used a couple extra hours of practice.
Well, the thing is you don't have to practice.
Sure, you don't have to
You
practice.
you can sit those sessions out. You don't have to put your car on the track.
Yep,
Now, if you're slow, you probably don't really have a choice.
correct.
But
So,
you don't have to practice for 3 hours on Thursday.
because
You don't have to
I'm trying to
practice
think.
for 2 hours on Friday. You don't have to do anything.
Correct.
Do you have to be there? Probably. But do you have to be on track making laps? No.
No.
Okay, so then my thought is, what was the tire rule? Did it have to be a 4 set tires?
I don't know. Did we need 4? Could we get away with 3?
There's the start. The Perry got bolted on and 2 in the pits. Especially since you got comp cautions. One, they already listened to the cost of it because you're not having to get NASCAR style pit guys for pit stops
Well, yeah.
like they used to.
Yeah.
So you already lessened some money there. But you get guys like Bubba that are bringing their NASCAR crew chiefs over. They're bringing NASCAR spotters. Now, obviously, that's on their old free will.
Yep.
On bringing them guys over. So there's definitely ways that you can lessen your cost of going down there. Do you give up any competitive advantage by doing that, though?
Oh, that was my question. That becomes at what degree of speed are you giving these up as you're cutting costs?
But
I
you
don't
just
know.
saw a guy and Jace Hansen and do what he did.
Well,
So
correct.
we talked about, so like we also talk about drivers that weren't there. Preston Peltier, most notably not there, but he was the crew chief.
Yep. On the 08. Yep.
Yep. Carson Holzvar, he was there as a car owner. You mentioned this over the weekend. Hunter Robbins, he wasn't there.
Yep.
That team's pro late was there, but their super late wasn't.
Yep.
William Byron wasn't there. Derek Griffith wasn't there. Jones wasn't there, but he also had a child. I mean, Augie Girl originally wasn't going to be there.
Rent a
So,
ride, quote unquote.
yeah. So I
mean, the list of guys from up here, that's a whole other conversation in itself.
correct.
We could list off 10 guys right now that we thought would have been there that didn't.
Look who was at
Bigley.
Bigley and what didn't show. Yep, exactly.
The list is Storm, DeAngelis. Like, Those are two big ones.
Yep. The other thing too, and Majeski kind of brought this up, is everybody knows what they signed up for when they came down here.
Yeah, it's no secret. You know what you're going to be in it to try to do this. Yeah.
So
Do we need to put some type of cost saving measures in there? Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you want to win the biggest and baddest race of the year, let's be honest, it ain't going to be cheap. Let's not be naive to that situation.
when you can't get your ASA National Tour champion Casey Roddick to run the Snowball Derby when he's got a quote unquote teammate Steven Assey running it.
Casey Roderick was one of two guys that were guaranteed a starting spot no matter what happened.
And he couldn't, and he still didn't run. Yep.
Correct.
That's when
But
you know you
man.
got issues. Call a
Oh.
spade call a spade a spade. When somebody's got a guaranteed starting spot and they say, "Nah, I'm good."
Couldn't get funding.
Yeah. So
Crying shame.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to say that there's only one way from here and that's up, but I really hope
you can certainly go down.
I hope
the
not.
my two big sticking points to it is one, tires. Obviously, tires are expensive.
Yeah.
Start with that. And two, does the evaluation of pay throughout the field need to be looked at?
Yeah. Flo just made a very big point to say at the end of the race on the broadcast that pay for every position was up.
Yep.
Which it was. It was.
Could you put okay? So now
do that again next year, twice as big.
but can you now up the pay for throughout the field and not the winner?
Yeah, right. Let the winner still give the winner 50, but the money we bring along next year is going to go from fifth on back, third on back, eighth on back. Give it outside the top 10.
Yep. Two things that literally just popped to mind here. One, no presenting sponsor for the Snowball Derby. So you probably lose some money there.
You know.
Two, do we do lap pays?
Lab sponsorship, maybe.
Lap sponsorship.
Yeah. Wouldn't hurt. Does that now people
There's
are
your there's your trade-off for the winner.
Yeah, you're gonna laugh, but what did Slinger pay to win this year? 20? 15, 10,
15.
whatever it was. You'd be surprised the money that they got in lap money.
We had just as much, if not more, lap sponsor money.
Yep.
Than we did race winning money.
But you're gonna laugh. That $20 that we donated, there's a whole bunch of people that did that too.
Yep.
And that made a boatload of money.
Yep. You could pay for a set of tires by just leading laps. Given you got to lead laps, but
yep.
Not to go back to the dirt late model side, but how about the PDC race? Nick Hoffman led like every single lap of PDC race and ended up getting second to Bobby Pierce, but he still ended up taking home more money than the race winner because he led so many laps.
Yep.
So
there's avenues to do it. It's just
find the right one.
Yeah.
If I had to die on a hill on this, I'm gonna say you got to better the pay throughout the field, and that's not just Snowball Derby. That's any racing.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're getting the whatever discipline you're in, you're getting the biggest stars and most notable guys coming out like Bubba Pollard, and when you have people coming out like that and just saying like spread it out throughout the field, like
Yep.
No.
These guys have been around the block, they've been here, they know what teams are going through, like hey, Snowball Derby, whoever runs it, Flow, like Bubba Pollard would be a great guy to consult about why we're at where we're at.
Yep.
Any final thoughts here, fellas, before we maybe move on here?
I feel like I've said my piece.
Yeah, I don't like you said, I think we're still spinning the wheels here a little bit on where we go and how do we fix it. But again, I think we got to move and we got to move quickly because we got to do something because this was, as Weaver said, the lowest car count in Derby history. So we don't want to keep digging a new rock bottom. So whatever we've got to do here, got to try to find a solution or try something different next year and see if it can help or hurt the problem. And again,
Yep.
ask some of these teams, ask him, some of these guys that aren't showing up, why are you not? Is it pay structure? Is it solely fun? Start trying to figure out why people aren't showing up and trying to address why some of these people aren't showing up. And I think get this thing back on the track.
Yep. Absolutely. So, okay, let's kind of the last little bit of business here. The forever named segment to be named. The tids and the bits and the oddball news and
Christ, we got a lot of it again today.
all that stuff. Yeah. So, all right. Who wants to start out and how do we want to start out here?
I'll take like the first three, I guess.
Okay.
Austin Warner from Georgia. He will be coming up here to the Midwest, running the Midwest Truck Series with a truck prepared by Bryce Miller. So, notably 13 years old, I believe.
Yep.
So he'll be coming up here, hopping into a well-prepared truck, and Bryce Miller putting that ride together for him. Brendan Butterbean Queen, going to run full-time in the ARCA in 2025 in the number 28 for Pinnacle Racing. So that obviously was the car occupied by Zilich for most of the season. And then in the truck series, you got Connor Mozak will drive the 81 full-time for McAnally Hilgman Racing in 2025. So
Jordan Anderson Racing has announced their lineup for their Xfinity program. Jeb Burton will return to the 27, and Blaine Perkins will hop into the 31 car for Jordan Anderson Racing this year. DGM announces that Ryan Ellis will be in their number 71 Xfinity car. And then Sammy Smith, as noted earlier this year, will be running the number 8, but he'll be running the DEI style number 8 next year for Junior Motorsports.
Yep.
So I think Junior Motorsports has been winning some of the stuff or getting some of their stuff back from DEI and putting it back in the team basically.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Junior's proud of that, so good for him.
Oh yeah.
Cam, you
I'll
got
hop right
this
in
one.
here.
Yeah.
Just my favorite team here, making just championship moves here. Colleague Racing announces Andrew Dixon, Dickinson,
Dickinson.
Dickinson,
Yep.
will be the crew chief for the number 10, and then Trent Owens will be the 16 cars crew chief. Those again, those are both cup cars, and then Mike Cook goes to the technical director. So calling a little bit of shakeup in the organization, a little bit of realignment there, getting ready for 2025. So big things coming from them. Hopping in here, the next one, Landon Crawley joins Michael Dutcher Boat Motorsports full-time in the sprint cars in 2025, and his schedule will be announced at a future date. Then getting in back to a guy we touched on earlier on the dirt scene, Gordy Gundaker. He's going to make a run at the Chili Bowl this year. So another big name dirt late model guy. Going to hop into a midget and see what he can do.
I think I'll take these next three. Toyota announces that they will be leaving NHRA after the 2025 season. They jumped into the NHRA scene, I believe, in 2004,
Yes,
2002, something like that. Early 2000s.
yeah.
Early 2000s, they hopped into the NHRA scene. Very big, as it's obviously an OEM that's leaving the series. Does this mean they're going to get a bagger NASCAR investment? Question mark.
Hopefully.
I guess we'll find out.
Yep.
Spire Motorsports president Doug Duchard will move to the TWG Global Andretti Series team starting in 25. Basically, it's the IndyCar, the IMSA, now Formula One side of things. So he will be over on that team, heading all that fun stuff. And then Andy Lally, a guy that's run a handful of NASCAR races, mainly a road racing guy, will retire from racing after the 2025 Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona and will assume the position of the Trans Am Racing Series president in 2025.
Nice. Jumping into a little bit of sponsorship news. King's Hawaiian is expected to leave RFK. They'll do switching teams due to brand conflict. So, kind of makes you wonder a little bit what the deal with Kroger. Maybe is button heads a little bit. And then looking at some Hall of Fame for the West Coast Stock Car Motorsports 2025 class. AJ Allmendinger, Justin Marks, Boris Said, and Rick Ware are amongst those groups. So those are some of the notables in that group going into the Hall of Fame.
All right, who wants this last group of them?
I'll hammer them home. All right.
Yeah.
So this team's been in the headlines here, but RCR competition update. So Andy Street moves to the Cup. Chad Haney and Donnie Stockman go to Xfinity. Next bullet point on RCR. Street will crew chief for select Cup races with a third car and Xfinity races, and will provide competition direction and assistance to RCR Alliance partners as Xfinity engineering manager. So RCR, third Cup car, some Xfinity races, a lot of big moves here coming, and kind of sounds like Street is going to be, again, kind of spearheading those extra races for the third car there. Old left rear and Wreckham, Austin.
Nope.
Nope. Oh,
I changed it on you. My bad.
all right. I'll put a false note in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was right rear and Wreckham. But Haney, just mentioned him, Chad Haney. He will crew chief for Austin Hill in the Xfinity series. And then Stockman continues with Jesse Love for 2025. So a lot of moving parts in the RCR camp. Again, feels like colleague, a little bit of realignment, moving people around, switching a few things up. Gonna mess around with a third car here and there. So RCR again making some moves. So it'll be interesting to see where that team goes in 2025 here, because Bushwhacker ain't going to be content not winning a race next year. Dylan, the noise is getting louder and louder about him. Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the RCR camp. So, another random news note that I saw here: Chandler Smith, not announced, but he did say he signed a deal, and news will be coming out soon. So,
Yep.
Somebody who was jobless and wanted to be back at Joe Gibbs, but alluded to not having the pocketbooks to do it, or the pockets to do it. Did say he signed a deal, and an announcement will be coming soon. So stay tuned on your socials for that.
Dale Jr., they're going to release the number 8 paint scheme tomorrow. It said, he tweeted 1 hour ago, same time tomorrow. And then in the graphic, it said, let's add some color.
All right. Quick couple of other items here. Cam, I'm going to hit on one of your favorite series here, G1, also known as Formula One. Lando Norris wins the season finale in Abu Dhabi. Obviously, Max Verstappen won the Drivers' Championship a handful of weeks ago. McLaren wraps up the Constructors' Championship for this year, which is obviously where the money is at. Another note-keeping item here. The only race that we got coming up, at least in our schedule for this weekend, is the POWRi National Midget Series. They're going to be at the DuQuoin State Fairgrounds. There's your other inside dirt track. For the Junior Knepper, 55.
Side note, really quick. Eldora just dropped their schedule for 2025. Dirt Late Model Dream prelim nights are now $30,000 to win with 26 starters. And then looking down to the World 100, the champ will pocket $72,000 as part of Eldora's 72nd season. The tradition of adding $1,000 to the winner's payout will stay intact moving forward. So every year the dream or the world runs, they will add a year or $1,000.
All right.
Those dates have been announced. Castrol will race June 4th, just ahead of the two prelim nights of the Dirt Late Model Dream. And that will be June 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. And then the World 100 will run September 4th, 5th, and 6th. So, a couple big ones on the docket for you.
Yeah, that's something to do. As we kind of again enter into our off season here of racing, stay tuned to track schedule releases. It might not come from a series, but you can always catch a release from a track, possibly a track near you, and see what the track schedule is going to be. So another way to catch some racing news while we're in the off season here.
Absolutely. Recapping race picks from this past weekend. Sorry, Kel, I'm kind of beating a dead horse with this one. Kellen, you didn't have anybody make the A main on Saturday.
Pretty dull, no.
Between Turbo and Fager.
Yep.
So it was between me and Cam. Cam, you had Shepard, who obviously won, and then you had Davenport. I had RTJ and Hoffman. And then when we get to the Derby, it's kind of mixed. So I had Majeski and Ruggiero, didn't do half bad. Cam, you had Pollard and Sammy Smith, not half bad. And Kellen, you had Nasty and Thorne, which again, not half bad. I kind of did a makeshift point system, but I was consistent between the two races. So I ended up with 101 points. Cam, you had 85, and Kellen, you had 50.
All right, so let's just call a spade here. A little bit of suspect. You came up with your own makeshift point system. Ironically, you got the most points and you doubled Kellen.
Here's how the points went.
I don't think so.
It was straight up. If you finished last, you got 1 point. Second to last was 2 points. Third to last was 3 points. And I went up from there. Third place got 2 more points than fourth place. Second got 2 more than third. And then first got 3 more than second.
Yeah, well, I didn't have a car in the race on Saturday night at the Dome. So yeah, I got
which we could take the Dome out if you want.
No, leave it in there. I picked terrible. Forget it. And Thorne didn't finish the Derby. So I was 1 for 4 on the weekend.
Well, hopefully you can get right this weekend when we pick the old POWRi National Midgets at DuQuoin State Fairgrounds.
Spin the wheel.
What number you want?
76.
I'm picking 29, whoever number 29 is.
I'm going to laugh if there isn't even a 29. All right. So
anyhow,
that's how we fared out over the weekend.
Yep.
Otherwise, like I said, Power I is about the only other race. Formula One was the only other race that happened over the weekend. We get into the super slow part of the year because we get towards the holidays coming
Yep.
up here. So, um, any other final thoughts here, fellas, or anything else you want to touch on before we sign off for the day?
Nope.
Two fantastic races. And some good discussion on how we can improve them. So I would think they're going to be a little bit of change coming in the next year for both those big races. But the main thing is going to stay the main thing. Good hard racing.
Yep, absolutely. So as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe on the episode, like our channels, check us out on social medias. I would say normally go to your local short tracks, but again, probably all of them are kind of closed down, at least for the season. So keep an eye on the schedules for your local short tracks and start figuring out what you may want to do for next year. As always, like I said, hit that bell. You'll get notification when stuff comes out. Otherwise, we'll see you all next week on the next episode of the Tuesday Track Talk.